Well, good evening, and welcome to another installment of For the Living of These Days. Today, the edition For the Love of Christ! Exclamation point, exclamation point. Just taking this time, I've been wrestling all day from a number of experiences with a number of thoughts or feelings. One is how shall the church emerge from this pandemic, when going back to how things were before the virus wasn't going so well. With the growing number of people who have no church affiliation or are just plain done with the church in general or find no relevance for God in their lives, how can a faith community open to such pain and the stories and the holy listeners and give a space for belonging in that question and not live in such church certainty that alienates so many? Other questions wrestling, statistics before the pandemic depicted an alarming rate. Just looking at a Gallup article from last year, half of Americans are church members. That's down from 70% in 1999. Most of the decline attributable to increase in percentage is with those with no religious affiliation, and membership has fallen 9 points among those who are religious. The question of spiritual but not religious, and just has come to me all day, just wrestling with that. My heart breaks. So this is a lamentation that shifts into revelation. So hang on. So my heart breaks. Story after story after story of those who bear wounds in regard to their past experience with church. My lamentation is founded on the countless stories of those who are spiritual but not religious, who are just done with church. And it's the religious side, the faith side. And my conversations today just took me into so many stories of the fact that the faith survived in this person, but the religion didn't. My heart breaks because I believe that in the Jesus movement, and because I want to reimagine new conversations, or even reimagine new congregations about what the church is and is not, to breathe fresh wind and fresh fire into our sacramental ways and our fear of change ways. It's only going to happen when we sit down with the stories that are connected to the lives, that are connected to the hearts and minds and souls of our brothers and sisters who are finding their way away from the church. So I'm brought again and again to love, agape love, unconditional love, justice love. So the revelation part, and I'll leave it as an open conversation when I'm finished, but I found myself in my wrestling with wanting to open the conversation in love to my siblings who struggle with church. I went to Peter, and I came upon Peter and Jesus encounters, both at Peter's denial of Jesus as Jesus is arrested, and during his trial, Peter denies 3 times that he even knew Jesus to save his own skin or what have you. And then the encounter post-resurrection when Jesus again comes to Peter in a redemptive way with 3 questions. between Jesus and Peter that seems to bring three redeeming questions. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? The scripture then I went to, and this was like 3 hours ago after I wrestled in love for my brothers and sisters. John chapter 21. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? He said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said to him, Feed my lambs. The second time, he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Sheep. Third time, do you love me? And he said to him, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. And Jesus said to him, Feed my sheep. Very truly, I younger, you and go wherever you wish. But when you grow old, stretch out your with an agape, an unconditional justice love. And Peter answers him. So the first two times Jesus asks Simon, Hello. So in this translation is Jesus indeed is asking Simon John if he loves him transcendentally, unconditionally, divinely, using the verb agape, referring to divine transcendental love beyond. But Peter replies, well, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Friendship, philion, which implies loving yet a more friendly, limited way. But the third time Jesus moves from agape to philia, because almost out of frustration, maybe Jesus is saying, okay, Simon, are you my friend? Do you love me? Do you philia love me? Almost to the point, in fact, John's text tells us when Peter notices Jesus is not asking him for a third time, but that he is also using another verb, as in going from transcendental to a simpler kind of love. He was grieved. So I'm unpacking this. I'm unpacking this because I need to take more time with this encounter, because I see if there is a revelation in my lamentation. Peter, a key founder of the church, right? In some circles, however you translate that Peter is the rock on which the church is built, in others that Jesus is, but however you look at this, that Peter is a key founder of the church, and yet has the church, and I in my lamentation to Revelation, has the church allowed itself to be so focused on being God's friend, on a more limited concept of love, that it has neglected the deeper, the higher love of agape, the unconditional justice love, sacrificial love? Has the church kind of participated in kind of denying a part of this relationship to Jesus? That somehow, like Peter, we are struggling because it is easier to be God's friend, be Jesus' friend, and tend the lambs and feed the sheep out of that love than out of this deep, transcendental, divine love of total surrender, total sacrificial love of justice. Has the church allowed itself to be so focused on being God's friend, which is fine, which is good, but there's another love that Jesus is ultimately calling us out to. Church, do you love me more than these? So, what does it mean to agape Jesus so radically that you are led out to the sheep and to the lambs, to be the church, to tend society, our community, our brothers and sisters, our siblings, with such transcendental, such a transcendent, sacrificial love? Friendship is powerful, but true agape love embraces our enemies, holds oppressors accountable, and is honest truth-telling to those who have been wounded by a church that has denied Jesus from in the area of really, truly agape. That's my wrestling now, because then I turn back to my lamentation, to those I've encountered in their stories, and I want to be in that agape love for them, and not try to just befriend them to be their friend, but to truly listen to their pain, to enter into that, and to just sit there and give them a place to belong in that question and not come with those certainties. So there you have it. This is my lamentation, revelation, contemplation. And I found such liberation in going deeper into that encounter between Peter and Jesus, because Peter did amazing work in the founding of the church, especially at Pentecost, when we're about to receive in a couple weeks. So there you have it. Why don't you contemplate the concept of agape love? And if Jesus comes to you with those three questions, how shall you answer? Amen.